What about lighting techniques to make, daytime feel scary?
I think in this case, it was about timing, about, scouting and understanding what the path of the sun was at this location and kind of choosing as best as I could within, the confines of trying to make a movie, what time would be ideal to shoot this in order to keep them backlit, to keep them, out of this kind of direct sun. I think there was some dappling from the trees, which was helpful. But for me, it was, don't want to have them kind of brightly front lit, whether it's backlight or through the trees, like something to kind of keep it, to give it a little more shape and a little less flatness and a little more kind of visual interest. So I think we wound up kind of organizing our day. I think maybe we were outside and then went inside and then came back out just to get the light kind of right for this sequence.
And for you, the correct lighting was trying to stay backlit. I'm assuming you were trying to avoid just, noontime direct overhead light, trying to bring a little shape to it. Anything else I'm thinking that you think could be valuable when people may, perhaps in our audience or in situations where they need to be outside doing exteriors for a horror film? Was there anything else that you learned from that experience that you could pass on to us?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing is timing, is really as best you can, knowing in advance what the sun's going to do. Obviously, you're at the mercy of clouds. You don't know exactly what that's going to do in advance. But in terms of, sometimes I would use larger solid frames for negative fill. I don't tend to do much lighting with electric lights outside during the day, unless I have a really specific reason to do that. But we were using, we used a lot of overheads. We used fly swatters, 20 by 20 foot. What I found was really nice was the quarter black silk, which is a specific black version of this diffusion silk that creates a kind of a lightly shadowed, almost mimics shadow from leaves on a tree branch. But it doesn't have this, normally when you use a big white silk, it'll glow so you'll diffuse the sunlight coming through it if it's white, but it'll also glow like a light source. So what the black silk does is it eliminates that glow, which I found was nice.
That is
especially
awesome.
For a horror movie.
I'm looking at it right now. I'll put a link to this in the show notes as well. But you're right that when you are using white silks, it creates kind of like a light source in and of itself because of the glow. So this is almost like the black, the quarter silk black is almost like it's almost like the pairing of a negative fill with a silk as well. Is the quarter? I'm assuming when I see quarter that there's halves as well, or is that a measure of how thick the silk is?
There may be. I know the black silks in general are less common. We used quarter black silk and quarter black grid, which was heavier. The quarter black grid was heavier, so that's more obviously like a quarter grid cloth, except black, and that created more of a deeper shade. But yeah, you're right that when you use these big white silks, they become a light source themselves. They do diffuse the light coming through them, but now it's a giant 20-foot light source basically. So I found in general I like them, but especially for horror movies or things when you were trying to create some mood, you can cut the sun and you're not getting that kind of glow like you do from a white overhead fabric.
I love that. That's a good tip. And like I said, I'll put a link to that in the show notes so you guys can check it out. This is not an expensive addition to your kit and could really make all the difference when you're doing exteriors like this, or even interiors when you don't want any bounce coming off of your silk. Yeah, that's interesting.